Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin Bubble News channel. I think a lot of different things could happen in the few weeks before start. What I think will happen in the few weeks before start is not something I am very sure about. When months 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 come around, I think this flood of money will be felt. I think that net flows could easily reach 5 or 6 billion by the end of the year. From there, I think they could go up even more in 2025. But I think investors should know that the few weeks before the start will be very interesting, with a lot of changes. In the long run, $15 billion will be put into these ETFs, which will make them reach new all-time highs. Bitwise CIO Matt Hougan recently said that the US spot Ethereum exchange-traded funds, EPS, and the cryptocurrency they are based on would go up a lot. Hougan says in a thread on the social media site X that Ethereum exchange-traded products will get about $1.15 billion in net flows in the first 18 months after they are approved by the US Securities and Exchange Commission and trading starts. To get these numbers, Hougan looks at the differences between the market caps of Bitcoin and Ethereum and assumes that buyers will put about the same amount of money into each ETF. He says that Bitcoin's market cap was about 74% of all of theirs put together. Ethereum held on to the last 26%. Hougan also says that $1.56 billion has been put in spot Bitcoin ETFs by US investors so far. He thinks that this number will rise to $100 billion by the end of 2025 as these ETFs mature and get approved by platforms like Morgan Stanley. In order for spot Ethereum ETF to hit parity, $35 billion in assets would need to be managed. Hougan warns, though, that Ethereum ETF might not be able to catch up to Bitcoin ETF because of some problems. This includes the Ethereum Trust ETH, which would change $1 billion worth of assets if it were accepted. By taking this away from the $1.35 billion, Hougan gets a likely for Ethereum ETF of $1.25 billion. He lowers this estimate even more when he looks at how big Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF are in Europe and Canada. In those two places, Ethereum ETF make up 22% and 23% of the market, respectively, while his guess was 26%. Using the 22% in Europe as a stand-in, the projected net flows go down from $1.25 billion to $1.18 billion, according to Hougan. Why did I write my piece? I was annoyed not by what Galaxy and Alex had done, which I thought was great, but by many of the reactions I saw on social media where people were just pointing fingers and saying it's going to be zero. It's going to be $100 billion. It's ridiculous. You can look at some places to start. I really thought about two groups of starting points. That's all there is to it. The market caps of Bitcoin and Ethereum. I find it hard to believe that no one looked at that. I looked at it because I was talking to an advisory company that manages assets worth more than $100 billion. And the first thing they told me was that they didn't feel safe with just Bitcoin and wanted to expand. If they could make a diversified basket, they would feel better about letting their advisors decide how to invest their money. And it hit me like a ton of bricks that the market cap weight, which is about 3-to-1 right now, will be the starting point for many buyers. Now, some people only want Bitcoin and others only want Ethereum. Both sides have good points, but the market price is a stupid place to start. That was the first point. After some time, I realized that they were ETH. The ETP market is different in other countries like Europe and Canada from the US market. The way those ETP markets work is a little different, but they're still important. Let's look at other countries. And the AUM almost matched this market cap weight when I looked at it. There was a little less of it, which makes sense since Bitcoin was the first one and some people just checked the box and moved on. But they were still 22% or 23% by assets. After that, it's just easy maths. You get there. From my point of view, the number I came up with was $15 billion over the next 18 months. More than that, though, you come to the conclusion that yes, there will be a lot of demand for these ETPs. I might be off by a few $1 billion, but it won't be zero. It's not going to be 100 billion. In that range of 10, 15, or 20, it will be very important. I think the most nerve-wracking part for me is the start, because I don't know how fast the money will leave ETH and whether there will be large net outflows that might even be higher than inflows for a short time. That might not happen. That didn't happen with Bitcoin, but I think people have come to terms with the fact that trade is going to happen, and they're going to make that change. So it's possible that they speed up the process of making that swap. There are also two kinds of buyers, right? Some buyers want to hold on to ETH, and it's likely that they will sell the more expensive product and switch to Bitwise and Galaxy products. Another group of people bought ETH because it's selling below its net asset value. They are just playing the arbitrage trade, they're taking a risk and are waiting for the price to go away if there is a conversion. Once that happens, they'll get out of the ETH space. What you need to worry about is whether those people leave quickly enough for new buyers to come in. Because of this, I believe that many things could happen in the weeks leading up to start. What I think will happen in the few weeks before start is not something I am very sure about. When months 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 come around, I think this flood of money will be felt. I think it's possible that our net flows will reach 5 or 6 billion by the end of the year. From there, I think it could go faster in 2025. I would like to point out that Bitcoin dropped in value after it first came out for a few weeks. Then it went up very quickly to new all-time highs. Again, I don't think that will happen. If I had to make a guess, that's not what I would expect to happen. I think there will be enough new investors to make up for it. But I think investors should know that the few weeks before the start will be very interesting, with a lot of changes. In the long run, $15 billion will be put into these ETFs, which will make them reach new all-time highs. I think that will happen very quickly. Here are some more interview clips. Bitcoin can teach you some things, in my opinion. GSR just put out a report on this. They talked about how the Bitcoin ETF raised the price of Bitcoin by 2.5 times in its first $15 billion or so dollars. From October, when the Bloomberg team knew for sure that we were going to get a Bitcoin ETF, until now, they thought about it. Yes, at that time, Bitcoin was worth about $27,000. So they are keeping track of all that price growth, which I believe to be a good guess. Because these ETFs were seen as bad until a few weeks ago, the window is much shorter, so we're just adding that number in. Will the same thing happen? We're looking into it right now, so you're counting, and you're stopping us in the middle of our study of how these inflows will affect the price of ETH. It might be possible to make the case that it could be better. They say that because there isn't really any net new supply in ETH right now, but there is net new supply in Bitcoin. There are two kinds of people in the market, those who have to sell and those who can sell. In Bitcoin, the Bitcoin miners are the ones who have to sell, and they've taken some of the clients that Bitcoin ETFs had. Here, net issue is about 0. It depends on the time frame you use, but it has been about 0 in recent times. These ETFs can only buy ETH from people who don't need to sell it. Costs may change more often because of this. If we keep seeing these flows, I think we'll reach new all-time highs. File for Sol ETF and Solana ETF. I'm interested in how your guys felt about that. It's kind of smart. Two things are important here, and VanEck is a great company. I get along with the firm. We have money invested in some of their goods. Two things are important. If there wasn't also a controlled futures market for the commodity. The CC has never approved an ETF that held that commodity. You can buy Bitcoin ETFs on the spot market or in the controlled Bitcoin futures market. It's possible that this ETF and a controlled market, like the gold futures market, could work together. However, there isn't a regulated Solana ETF. In a way, it goes against the past of ETFs. The SEC has 240 days to review these applications. The 240th day after VanEck files is around the middle of February, which is around the time a new CC commissioner would start work. In that way, I see those as kind of like the bull case and the bear case.